Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam K.
Jai. Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 23. We're still in the chapter Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. Actually goes on quite a bit. Oh, there's a lot of questions, I guess. Right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Right, text 23. O sinless Brahma, you may know from me that it was I who first ordered you to undergo penance when you were perplexed in your duty. Such penance is my heart and soul, and therefore penance and I are non-different. Purport. The penance by which one can see the personality of Godhead face to face is to be understood as devotional service to the Lord and nothing else, because only by discharging devotional service in transcendental love can one approach the Lord. Such penance is the internal potency of the Lord and is non-different from him. Such acts of internal potency are exhibited by non-attachment for material enjoyment. The living entities are engaged in the conditions of material bondage because of their propensity for overlordship. But by engagement in the devotional service of the Lord, one becomes detached from this enjoying spirit. The devotees automatically become detached from worldly enjoyment, and this detachment is a result of perfect knowledge. Therefore, the penance of devotional service includes knowledge and detachment, and that is the manifestation of the transcendental potency.
Mm-hmm. One cannot enjoy material, illusory prosperity if he desires to return home back to Godhead. One who has no information of the transcendental bliss in the association of the Lord foolishly desires to enjoy this temporary material happiness. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that if someone sincerely wants to see the Lord and at the same time wants to enjoy this material world, he is considered to be a fool only. One who wants to remain here in the material world for material enjoyment has no business entering into the eternal kingdom of God. The Lord favors such a foolish devotee by snatching all that he may possess in the material world. If such a foolish devotee of the Lord tries to recoup his position, then the merciful Lord again snatches away all that he may have possessed. By such repeated failures in material prosperity, he becomes very unpopular with his family members and friends. In the material world, the family members and friends honor persons who are very successful in accumulating wealth by any means. The foolish devotee of the Lord is thus put into forcible penance by the grace of the Lord, and at the end the devotee becomes perfectly happy, being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, penance in devotional service of the Lord, either by voluntary submission or by being forced by the Lord, is necessary for attaining perfection, and thus such penance is the internal potency of the Lord. Sounds like Srila Prabhupada is describing his own situation, because he also was very successful in one sense as a businessman, but then the Lord kind of took it all away, and his family were kind of criticizing and so many different things, and then Prabhupada tells that story like that anyhow.
One cannot, however, be engaged in the penance of devotional service without being completely free from all sins. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, only a person who is completely free from all reactions of sins can engage himself in the worship of the Lord. Brahmaji was sinless, and therefore he faithfully discharged the advice of the Lord. Tapa tapa. And the Lord, being satisfied with him, awarded him the desired result. Therefore, only love and penance combined can please the Lord, and thus one is able to attain his complete mercy. He directs the sinless, and the sinless devotee attains the highest perfection of life.
Nice, there you go. Interesting, Lord Brahma was sinless, so in that way he was free from all sin, so he just needed to perform this penance and austerity. Excuse me. Text 24. I create this cosmos by such penance. I maintain it by the same energy, and I withdraw it all by the same energy. Therefore, the potency is penance only. Purport. In executing penance, one must be determined to return home, back to Godhead, and must decide to undergo all types of tribulations for that end. Even for material prosperity and name and fame, one has to undergo severe types of penances. Otherwise, no one can become an important figure in this material world. Why then should there not be severe types of penances for the perfection of devotional service? An easygoing life and attainment of perfection in transcendental realization cannot go together. The Lord is more clever than any living entity. Therefore, he wants to see how painstaking the devotee is in devotional service. The order is received from the Lord, either directly or through the bona fide spiritual master, and to execute that order, however painstaking, is the severe type of penance. One who follows the principle rigidly is sure to achieve success in attaining the Lord's mercy. So that is a very, very powerful purport. So one must perform penance and undergo all types of tribulations, no matter how painstaking. An easygoing life is not conducive to success in devotional service. So that's very scary, and why many people probably run away. But nevertheless, people are prepared to work very hard in their material lives, quote unquote. We were discussing this last night, that Srila Prabhupada made the statement that you should be prepared to work twice as hard in spiritual life than you are in material life. So, but most people want to take to spiritual life, and they want it to be easy. They want to take it easy. But in material life, people work hard like anything to earn money, basically, to try to enjoy. And to that end, we will climb mountains and cross rivers. The story of Bilvamangala Thakur is there, what he would do to just enjoy with Chintamani. And then she said, if you had the same intensity to serve the Lord as you do to serve your senses by enjoying with my body, you'd be a great devotee. And he was like, boom,
Text 25, Lord Brahma said, O personality of Godhead, you are situated in every living entity's heart as the supreme director, and therefore you are aware of all endeavors by your superior intelligence without any hindrance whatsoever. Purport. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that the Lord is situated in everyone's heart as a witness, and as such he is the supreme director of sanction. The director is not the enjoyer of the fruits of action, for without the Lord's sanction no one can enjoy. For example, in a prohibited area, a habituated drunkard puts forward his application to the director of drinking, and the director, considering his case, sanctions only a certain amount of liquor for drinking. Similarly, the whole material world is full of many drunkards, in the sense that each and every one of the living entities has something in his mind to enjoy, and everyone desires the fulfillment of his desires very strongly. The Almighty Lord, being very kind to the living entity, as the Father is kind to the Son, fulfills the living entity's desire for his childish satisfaction. With such desires in mind, the living entity does not actually enjoy, but he serves the bodily whims unnecessarily without profit. The drunkard does not derive any profit out of drinking, and because he has become a servant of the drinking habit and does not wish to get out of it, the merciful Lord gives him all facilities to fulfill such desires.
Interesting analogy. How did you understand that analogy? Can you explain it in layman's terms for all of us?
Layman? I'm not a layman.
Okay, can you explain it in a royal order?
No, I understood that Krishna gives some sort of like it says here, the child, the father and the son, so gives into some things because that's what the living entity is desiring. They're not desiring him. But really, there's no enjoyment anyway. So it's like a parent knows. If the child says, I want this out. No, it's not good for you. No, you don't need that. No, you know. So you give a little bit, but they know it's not going to do you any good.
Okay. Anyway, yes. Interesting analogy about the drunkard going into a place and his desire is to enjoy. So then the bartender, even though he knows he's a drunkard, but he's allotted a certain amount of enjoyment, even though he doesn't profit anything from getting intoxicated, and he thinks he's enjoying. So in the same way, the Lord is like, I guess, the governor of the bar and the material world, and we come here with our own set of desires to try to enjoy. And he sanctions, okay, you're here, you're trying to enjoy, let's let you enjoy some things, even though, again, there's no real profit to it. You're not really making any progress or advancement. In fact, you're just degrading yourself and entangling yourself even more in the material energy. So, but the Lord sanctions it. It's up to him, ultimately.
So he's like a transcendental bartender.
Yeah, well, not just the
serving up what you deserve.
Serving up what you, well, partially what you desire and partially what you deserve, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess it's like, if you continue that analogy, you might go into the bar and think, so I want the best champagne, but really you don't have enough money for that, so your qualification is not high enough to drink the top line champagne or alcohol, so you have to go for some cheap version, of bubbly or whatever it is. So like that, we have a desire, but then we also have our qualification, which determines whether or not we get what we want in the material world. So like that. Anyway. You're right next.
I thought it was you.
Okay. The impersonalists recommend that one should become desireless, and others recommend banishing desires altogether. Seem to be the same thing. That is impossible. No one can banish desires altogether because desiring is the living symptom. Without having desires, a living entity would be dead, which he is not, because he's a living entity. Therefore, living conditions and desire go together. Perfection of desires may be achieved when one desires to serve the Lord, and the Lord also desires that every living entity banish all personal desires and cooperate with his desires. That is the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita. Brahmaji agreed to this proposal, and therefore he is given the responsible post of creating generations in the vacant universe. Oneness with the Lord therefore consists of dovetailing one's desires with the desires of the Supreme Lord. That makes for the perfection of all desires.
The Lord is the supersoul in the heart of every living being, knows what is in the mind of every living entity, and no one can do anything without the knowledge of the Lord within. By his superior intelligence, the Lord gives everyone the chance to fulfill his desires to the fullest extent, and the resultant reaction is also awarded by the Lord.
Okay, text 26. In spite of that, my Lord, I am praying to you to kindly fulfill my desire. May I please be informed how, in spite of your transcendental form, you assume the mundane form, although you have no such form at all. And please inform me how you, by your own self, manifest different energies for annihilation, generation, acceptance, and maintenance by combination and permutation. Purport. The whole manifestation is the Lord himself by diffusion of his different energies only, namely the internal, external, and marginal, just as the sunlight is the manifestation of the energy of the sun planet. Such energy is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, just as the sunshine is simultaneously one with and different from the sun planet. The energies are acting by combination and permutation, by the indication of the Lord, and the acting agents like Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are also, that didn't make sense. The energies are acting by combination and permutation by the indication of the Lord, and the acting agents like Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are also different incarnations of the Lord. In other words, there is nothing but the Lord, and still the Lord is different from all such manifestive activities. How it is so will be explained later on.
Text 28. O Master of all energies, please tell me philosophically all about them. You play like a spider that covers itself by its own energy, and your determination is infallible. By the inconceivable energy of the Lord, every creative element has its own potencies, known as the potency of the element, potency of knowledge, and potency of different actions and reactions. By a combination of such potential energies of the Lord, there is the manifestation of creation, maintenance, and annihilation in due course of time. And by different agents like Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, Brahma creates... and by different agents. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Brahma creates, Vishnu maintains, and Lord Shiva destroys. For all such agents and creative energies are emanations from the Lord. And as such, there is nothing except the Lord, or the one supreme source of different diversities. The exact example is the sun is the spider and spider's web. The web is created by the spider and is maintained by the spider, and as soon as the spider likes, the whole thing is wound up within the spider. The spider is covered within the web. If an insignificant spider is so powerful as to act according to its own will, why can't the Supreme Being act by his supreme will in the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the cosmic manifestation? That's a good point, no? By the grace of the Lord, a devotee like Brahma or one in his chain of disciplic succession can understand the almighty personality of Godhead eternally engaged in his transcendental pastimes in the region of different energies.
So what was your thought on that?
I like that analogy it makes, because you hear that all the time, the Lord at the end of the
creation,
yeah.
He annihilates everything.
But he winds, all goes back into him. The living entities and everything, and that his will, it all comes out again. And it's just a simple example that we have, because people often the argument is they can't relate to this God concept, this man. First of all, they can't relate to a man as in a form. Can't be a form of the Lord out there. It has to be nothing, which doesn't make sense in itself because you got a form. So, why wouldn't God? And then just that, like, say, for example, they say, what do you mean there's a big gigantic form of him and things are created from him and then he winds them up again? Well, you got a classic, you can have an example that you can relate to, which is a spider, which most, people don't want to think about because spiders are horrible, but that's what they do. Somehow there's some sort of a chincha shakti that they have this web that comes out of them. We can, I don't want to think about spiders too much, but it's quite a very good example. Very good.
I guess I always read that in Prabhupada's books, but I've never seen or understood that a spider actually wraps up its web and puts it back inside of himself. I mean, it'd be interesting to see that.
No.
I did I've never seen it. I have seen, probably on things like National Geographic or whatever, the Animal Channel, or even in real life, I've seen, a spider creating a web, but I've never seen him kind of wrap it up. So it's an interesting thing. Even just now, quickly, I Googled it, and there isn't any video or picture of it. But doesn't mean to say it doesn't happen. But I guess the point is that, that idea, like you said, that if a simple spider can spin a web at his own will and wrap it up, why can't the Lord create a universe and also annihilate?
Yeah, and then you have to think. So that's quite inconceivable, even on that material level, that the spider can do that. So how the hell did it learn to do that? You have to think of the brain then, and the
good point.
person who put that together.
Who trained the spider? Because usually spiders are just left in the thing and they come out and they fly off into the web and they start their own thing. It's not like they get a proper training course. Such a good point, Who trains all these animals to know how to do what they do,
But who created that Shakti, it wasn't a scientist, that's for sure.
Yeah. Although in the future they'll probably lay claim to it.
Well, someone's already done it, so even if they do it, like test tube babes, and that's fine, but someone who already did it, you just, on the back of that, you're doing something, you got to be original, then we can say you're the man or woman.
Person.
Yeah, PC, innit?
Text 29. Please tell me so that I may be taught in the matter by the instruction of the personality of Godhead, and may thus act instrumentally to generate living entities without being conditioned by such activities. Good question. Brahmaji does not want to become a speculator dependent on the strength of his personal knowledge and condition to material bondage. Everyone should know in clear consciousness that one is, in the execution of all activities, an instrument. A conditioned soul is instrumental in the hands of the external energy, gunamayi maya, or the illusory energy of the Lord, and in the liberated stage, the living entity is instrumental to the will of the personality of Godhead directly. To be instrumental to the direct will of the Lord is the natural constitutional position of the living entity, whereas to be an instrument in the hands of the illusory energy of the Lord is material bondage for the living entity. It's material bondage for the living entity. In that conditioned state, the living entity speculates on the absolute truth and his different activities. But in the unconditioned stage, the living entity directly receives knowledge from the Lord, and such a liberated soul acts flawlessly, without any speculative habit. The Bhagavad Gita 10:10 through 11 confirms emphatically that the pure devotees who are constantly engaged in the loving transcendental service of the Lord are directly advised by the Lord. So much so that the devotee unwaveringly makes progress on the path home, back to Godhead. Pure devotees of the Lord are therefore not proud of their definite progress, whereas the non-devotee speculator is in the darkness of illusory energy and is very much proud of his misleading knowledge based on speculation without any definite path. Lord Brahma wanted to be saved from that pitfall of pride, although he was posted in the most exalted position within the universe. Yes.
Text 30. O my Lord, the unborn, you have shaken hands with me just as a friend does with a friend, as if equal in position. I shall be engaged in the creation of different types of living entities, and I shall be occupied in your service. I shall have no perturbation.
Perturbation. I won't be perturbed.
I know, I never heard it written like, I've seen it written like that. I have no perturbation. But I pray that all this may not give rise to pride as if I were the supreme.
Such a powerful statement.
Yeah. Purport. Lord Brahma is definitely situated in the humour of friendship with the Lord. Every living being is eternally related with the personality of Godhead in one of 5 different transcendental humours, namely Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. We have already discussed these 5 kinds of humours in relationship with the personality of Godhead. It is clearly exhibited herein that Lord Brahma is related to the personality of Godhead in the transcendental humour of friendship. Interesting. I wouldn't have thought of him in friendship.
Mm-hmm.
A pure devotee may be related with the Lord in any one of the transcendental humours, even the humour of parenthood. But the devotee of the Lord is always a transcendental servitor. No one is equal to or greater than the Lord. That is the version of the Bhagavad Gita. Brahmaji, although eternally related with the Lord in the transcendental humour of friendship, and although entrusted with the most exalted post of creating different grades of living entities, is still conscious of his position, that he is neither the Supreme Lord nor supremely powerful. It is possible that some extremely powerful personalities within or without the universe may sometimes show more power than the Lord himself. Still, the pure devotee knows that this power is a vibhuti delegated by the Lord, and such a delegated powerful living entity is never independent. Sri Hanumanji crossed the Indian Ocean by jumping over the sea, and Lord Sri Ramachandra engaged himself in marching over the bridge. But this does not mean that Hanumanji was more powerful than the Lord. Sometimes the Lord gives extraordinary powers to his devotee, but the devotee knows always that the power belongs to the personality of Godhead, and that the devotee, is only an instrument. Yes, the pure devotee is never puffed up like the non-devotee class of men who falsely think that they are God. It is astonishing to see how a person who is being kicked by the laws of the Lord's illusory energy at every step can falsely think of becoming one with the Lord.
It's true when you think about it like that.
Such thinking is the last snare of the illusory energy offered to the conditioned soul. The first illusion is that he wants to become lord of the material world by accumulating wealth and power. But when he is frustrated in that attempt, he wants to be one with the Lord. So both becoming the most powerful man in the material world and desiring to become one with the Lord are different illusionary snares. And because the pure devotees of the Lord are surrendered souls, they are above the illusionary snares of Maya. Because Lord Brahma is a pure devotee, even though the first dominating deity in the material world, and therefore able to do many wonderful things, he would never, like the non-devotee with a poor fund of knowledge, have the audacity to think of becoming one with the Lord. People with a poor fund of knowledge should take lessons from Brahma when they are puffed up with a false notion of becoming God.
Very powerful statement. I guess, you might think that how come the original first living entity didn't think to become one with the Lord? Let me just merge with the Lord. He's the most intelligent, but it didn't come from him. That whole idea came much later. Factually, Lord Brahma does not create the living entities. In the beginning of the creation, he is empowered to give different bodily shapes to the living entities according to their work during the last millennium. Brahmaji's duty is just to wake the living entities from their slumber and to engage them in their proper duty. The different grades of living entities are not created by Brahmaji by his capricious whims, but he is entrusted with the task of giving the living entities different grades of body so that they can work accordingly. And still, he is conscious that he is only instrumental, so that he may not think of himself as the supreme powerful Lord.
Devotees of the Lord are engaged in the specific duty offered by the Lord, and such duties are successfully carried out without hindrance because they are ordained by the Lord. The credit of success goes not to the doer, but to the Lord. But persons with a poor fund of knowledge take the credit of success into their own accounts and give nothing to the credit of the Lord. That is a symptom of the non-devotee class of men.
Nice. I think we should finish there.
Okay.
That's such a nice verse and purport, though.
Yeah.
Brahmaji's, I like this. Brahmaji's duty, he doesn't actually create the living entities. He simply wakes them up. They're already created by the Lord himself. But Lord Brahma, he simply awakens them and engages them in bodies in the material world so that they can enact and fulfill their inclinations or desires like that. So, very interesting. So in that sense, that's why we often Sometimes it is referred to him as the original creator, but I've also heard that he's the original engineer. He is the engineer of the universe. It means he didn't create it. He's just engineering how it's going to function and work.
Constructing it.
Yeah, he's in construction. God
But
is the
the
original.
materials were already supplied.
Yes, the materials are supplied.
As they are to the scientists, but they miss the God element.
Okay, so
All right.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.